it's going to take a culture change in the attorneys too, because I know a lot of attorneys are like, I just type my own letters. It's just easier than giving it to somebody else to do. And so there's got to be some impetus to make people want to give up the stuff they do themselves so that they can do other things that are more substantive for their clients. So, Amy Staples, you want to say something?
Well, Tommy.
I'm sorry.
One of the things we're kind of toying with in our first district office is our juvenile and DSS attorney has started taking a legal assistant with him to court to help ferry things along, because the nature of our district is that he's pretty much the only one with the cases in there. So there's do a case, lag time, do a case, lag time. And she's helping speed things along, and the judges have been very positively reacting to that. But we're seeing some, I guess, backlash back at the home office, because she's not just his legal assistant, she's two other attorneys' legal assistant as well. And sometimes when they need something done, she's in court. And so her workload is increasing, but obviously the pay's not. So, and we're having some trouble back in the office. So we're trying to figure out, without having more legal assistants, how can we make this work? Because we don't want to give up the in-courtroom improvements, because we're getting really positive feedback on that, but we need to make sure we're shoring up the office too. So more legal assistants would probably be great for our office.
That's a great idea, and not one we talked about, but certainly something that could be used as a justification and figuring out how to help. Because it's not just work that lawyers are doing that the staff could do, it's work that's not getting done because nobody's doing it. Oh. Who won? Staples?
It's been over 30 years since I was running around among courts in Cumberland County. And the meeting was sort of a real education for me about, particularly Paul talking about, what's her name's law? Marcy.
Yeah. What's her name? I like it.
And the problems that's making the whole problem of people languishing in jail even worse. It seems to me that, and I was not feeling positive when I came to that meeting, and it was great, the positivity that people and creativity that people were manifesting in that meeting and coming up with ideas. These three groups of ideas are all related. Mostly in the meeting what I did was listen and ask questions, particularly ask questions. But the whole idea of getting legal assistance, figuring out things that they can do that free up lawyer time, including interviews in jail, including the idea that Tommy just talked about. Every situation is going to be different because all of your districts are different. But I just think that I don't know that you need to pick one of these to focus on. Maybe that's a good idea, maybe not, but they're all interrelated. And it seems to me that if you can pull this off, it's a way of, in essence, getting more attorneys because you're freeing up attorney time. And it's a cost-effective way of doing it. Although, as somebody pointed out in the meeting, Susan, I think, if you're going to ask non-lawyers to do relatively sophisticated things like interviewing clients in preparation for a bond hearing or something, you're probably not going to get away with the cheapest labor you can get for that. But I thought that the meeting was great. It was a real education for me, and I just think y'all got to decide. you're going to attack on all fronts. You're going to pick one of these as a sort of a focal point. But it wasn't. It was a great meeting.
Well, I think those are two separate questions. This is Susan. So, first question is, what do you guys think about these three big ideas? Do you endorse them? Does anybody have any issues with them? Are they ones that you would want us to try to push?
And this is Tom. I'd say, are there ideas that you're willing to push?
Mm-hmm.
Because most of these are not something that IDS on their own can do.
Right.
And I will say, and I'm sorry I wasn't at the meeting. I hoped to be at the meeting, but I had to be. We've got this. I'm going around the local bar meetings for the uniform appointment plan, and so my schedule's tighter. I really appreciate the thought and effort that went into it. I personally don't think you have to pick one or two or three. I think all three are things that are worth pursuing. I think the pretrial release issue is one that a lot of people are pursuing. I'm not sure I would tackle it as being part of the workload, because I would hate people to think that improving that has somehow really reduced the workload for folks. I think it's incredibly important, but probably less of a workload issue. I think local efficiency, just like adding support staff, will free up, let the attorney spend more of their time being attorneys and less doing other things. If the consensus is to push for staff, I think a couple things need to be done to help us formulate what the legislative ask would be and to help you help us. Specifically, I think we need to be thinking about, are we doing this as a pilot in a couple offices, then be able to report to the legislature that it had the intended effect? Are we just looking at what we could loosely call paralegals, or are we asking for more investigators? And part of that means thinking through what is it that attorneys are currently doing that can be done by non-attorneys effectively, or things that aren't getting done at all that can be done by non-attorneys, and kind of being prepared to really think about how new staff would be integrated into your office, used by your office, and actually free up attorney time. Because that's not necessarily an easy thing to do. I think Susan mentioned kind of changing the workflow and changing the culture takes time, and there's always a danger that, in fact, it takes more attorney time because now they feel like they have to supervise the paralegal in addition to doing their own work.
And I think all three, this is Susan, I think all three of these are interrelated in a way. For the pretrial release, yes, it relates to court processes because it ties up y'all's time. And you could possibly use investigators or paralegals to help with that. The court procedures, obviously, that is implicated. The staff, I mean, they seem to all sort of fit together in a way. So I guess, again, the question is, do you want to focus on one? Do you want to sort of take a crack at all of them? And then we need to figure out sort of the bite-sized pieces of that and how to come up with that.
And this is something, and thinking about that, I don't know how many of you are aware, I know Paul is, of all the various efforts or pilots that are going on about pretrial release already. So this is a kind of a very active area. I know that Jesse Smith is working with people in Forsyth.
We actually have a grant for her to do that. So
yeah. They are working, I thought, in the 2nd District in Tommy's office to expand or increase first appearance.
Right, so Jesse Smith has come down and met with us a couple times. We have a committee, and it's for several different things. One is to redo our bond guidelines, and secondly, it's to implement a first appearance court. So because the court is held so infrequently, we're not doing it every day, having a misdemeanor first appearance court, so we're picking certain days of the week for each county to do it, and our office will staff it, and it's supposed to go into effect starting first day of January.
Yeah, and we are paying for private counsel to do first appearances in Haywood, and that's been working well. Jesse Smith has been talking to me, and I think we'll have spoken to at least one or two of you. She's trying to get a grant to add first appearance representation in, I think her hope is 2 non-PD counties and 2 PD counties as a random controlled trial, which means that like you might provide representation on Mondays but not Tuesdays,